let's hear from Michael Belkin. Michael is a leading investment market strategist, author of the Belkin Report, published since 1992. He was a vice president and quantitative strategic analyst at Salomon Brothers. Michael testified before Congress about his daughter, who died at the age of 5 weeks, just hours after receiving her second hepatitis B vaccine booster. Michael will share with us an investment thesis that the happily ever after of the pharmaceutical industry is coming to an end. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Belkin.
Thank you, Louise. First thing I want to do is start out with the definition of a vaccine adverse reaction. We heard earlier what happened to the girl who got Gardasil. So the Merck manual, it's the largest selling handbook, textbook of medicine. Incidentally, Merck is the manufacturer of Gardasil. Here's what it says. Encephalitis. Encephalitis is inflammation of the brain that occurs when a virus directly enters the brain. And encephalitis can occur in the following ways. A virus or vaccine triggers a reaction that makes the immune system attack brain tissue. Okay, let's get that straight. A vaccine adverse reaction is the same thing as complications from the disease as defined in the Merck manual. And I propose to you that any doctor or CDC official or anyone in the government that is telling you that vaccine adverse reactions don't exist is ignorant and they're committing scientific fraud. Okay, and let me show you how that fits into the rest. Okay, what is a bubble? A bubble is based on mass psychology of people getting all caught up in something, as Louise demonstrated. And I've lived through several of these in the financial markets. First, there was the NASDAQ bubble. Everybody remember that one? NASDAQ 4000. After that, there was the housing bubble. Remember that one? Everyone's telling you, you got to buy a house, you got to refi, you got to get a subprime loan, got to get an option rate adjusted loan, got to buy that second condo in Miami, blah, blah, blah. And anybody who said don't do it was considered an idiot. So anyways, that bubble burst. But beneath the surface of bubbles in the financial markets, I've learned, is fraud. So while the bubble is going, everything's fine. And then when the bubble bursts, you find out all, what climbs out from underneath the rocks. And we've seen big banking problems in this country from banks that made bad loans on houses. And we've seen fraud, Salomon Brothers go under. Goldman Sachs is up there getting castigated. It's one thing after another. So after the bubble bursts, things come into the public. Now, and there's fraud behind it. So I would propose to you that that's going to happen in the vaccine bubble, which is where everyone's all caught up in at the moment. And what kind of fraud? Now, let me explain to you how vaccines come about in this country. It's a three-step process. That you get licensed through the FDA. A vaccine manufacturer creates a vaccine. They take it to the FDA for licensing. It gets rubber stamped, and then they take it to the CDC, ACIP committee, where they recommend that so you get so many doses at such and such an age. And the drug company manufacturer lobbyists take that around to the state level, and it gets turned into a vaccine mandate. And effectively what's happening is the vaccine manufacturers are using the schools as their marketing department. That is what is going on in this business of vaccine, that's in the vaccine business. So let's focus on one thing. Where is the fraud then? What do they use in the safety studies? Okay, everybody know what a placebo is? It's supposed to be some inert ingredient, right? Saline solution or something that doesn't do anything. Well, guess what they're using for placebos in vaccine studies? Other vaccines. Now, let's get back to remember, vaccines cause encephalitis, brain inflammation. So if you do a safety study that's saying your vaccine has the same safety profile as another vaccine that was tested against another vaccine, etc., all you're saying is it doesn't have any other neurological consequences than another vaccine that already has neurological consequences. In other words, this is like saying you have a tranquilizer and you're using thalidomide as a placebo, and you say, well, this vaccine, this tranquilizer doesn't have any other birth effects than thalidomide. That's the same process. I believe this is scientific fraud, and I think that means that the safety studies are all basically fudged for vaccines. Okay, let's get back to the industry in the short amount of time I have left. The drug industry is facing what's called a patent cliff. All their blockbuster drugs are basically, a large proportion of them are going off patent in the next 5 years. They're facing something like $100 billion to $120 billion of lost revenue. The first one, Lipitor, cholesterol drug, Pfizer, that's going off patent, and they're going to lose a lot of money. And what do they plan to replace that with? Guess what? Vaccines. So this is their new growth area, and right now they have captured the regulator. Do you understand? They control the process through all these different people on these different committees. All have conflicts of interest with them. They can cram these things through with phony safety studies, and so they're basically committing scientific fraud, and they intend to increase this. So look forward to, unless this thing stops, eventually bubbles just burst of their own accord, but they plan, look forward to more vaccines, more vaccine mandates if this thing doesn't change. And in the meantime, the most important thing is if they're going to dominate this thing, create these unsafe vaccines, click them, cram them through the system, make them mandatory for schools, we need to be able to say no. And that's what this rally is all about: informed consent to vaccination. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.